Hi everyone, welcome to Ooni Crafts. If you are a crafter who owns a mini sewing machine, and if you like helping your planet, you've come to the right place because Ooni Crafts is a craft and home improvement channel committed to donating a percentage of all ad revenue to charities of your choice. For more details, please click on the About section of Ooni Crafts and check out the channel banner for all the charities that you have helped raise money for. There are a number of reasons why you might find using the mini sewing machine challenging or more challenging than other sewing machines. It's small, it's not very powerful, it's got very limited functions. I think most of us who do end up buying the mini sewing machine do so because it's so cheap. And there is a promise that yes, you can do some amount of basic sewing on this machine. And since I've been using it for the past couple of years, you have seen that I have sewn quite a few things on this machine fairly well, and I'm happy with the results. However, there is one thing that does annoy me about this machine in particular, which is the bobbin winding mechanism. Basically, bobbin winding on this machine works by taking out a bobbin winding spindle, which is situated right here. So I twist it and a little spindle pops out, if I can do it. There we go, it's popped out right there. And then on top as well, there's your thread reel spindle. This pops out. And then we put our thread reel on top here. We put one thread reel on top here. We take an empty bobbin. We put it on this bobbin spindle, and then we wind the bobbin. And the biggest flaw is that when we are winding the bobbin on the machine, it does not have an option of disengaging the needle mechanism. So all the while this hand wheel is turning and the bobbin is being wound around, the needle keeps on going up and down, up and down. So this entire mechanism is still working. This can very easily make this mechanism, the needle mechanism, overwork itself for no reason. You're not sewing anything, certainly. You're just using it to wind the bobbin. A, it overworks the system, and B, it's a very slow system because the machine is spending a lot of energy not just turning this, but also moving these pistons and whatever it is inside of it. And because of that, bobbin winding on this machine can be quite a grating experience. It's not very pleasant, it's slow. And certainly if I show you a bobbin I've got here, look how fat that bobbin is filled up. It's filled up all the way almost to the edge, and that's because I've used part of it. In order to wind a bobbin to this thickness, it can take a really long time on this machine, okay? So today, I'm going to show you an alternative way of winding a bobbin without using the mini sewing machine. It's quick, it's cheap, it's easy, and anyone can do it if I can do so. So let's go ahead and get started. So when I first came across this method, I actually laughed and I was like, why didn't I come up with this before? So let me show you what I've got here. In my hand here is a really cheap USB fan. I bought this off of eBay for, I think, under £2.50 or maybe £2.50. I'm going to show you the images here of the actual fan and the actual listing that I bought. It's a super cheap fan. On one end, it's got a USB, and on the other end, it's got these cheap foam blades. So this is literally craft foam that you find in children's craft shops or toy shops, okay? It's super cheap. I took a little ruler, something with a sharp edge, and I've got a ruler here. I just pop it underneath there, and the blades just come off. Look at this. The top has come off, and now the blades come off as well, along with this whole thing. Oops, it's fallen off, but this comes off. And then this comes off, and that's fine because we don't really need this. What we are left with is essentially a rotary motor inside of this with a little spindle. And it's a super skinny spindle. So we are going to use this as our bobbin winding mechanism, and it's so quick and easy, you won't believe it. Let's do this. So the only other item I used is a little piece of blue tack. Blue tack is basically just a sticky, kind of like a Play-Doh-like substance that you use to temporarily stick things together. You could stick chart paper to the wall for presentations, or if you want to stop things from moving around too much, you can stick it. I could stick it there and maybe stick something on top of it. I could take my scissors and put them there and they're gonna stay. So that's blue tack. It's a very cheap sticky substance. See if you've got some blue tack lying around or in local stationery shops. So those are literally the only two things you need. And this can be used over and over again for so many purposes. Now let's go and do some magic with our bobbin. So I've got this blob of blue tack, right? And I've torn off a tiny, tiny little piece off of it. Not very big at all. Look how tiny that is. That's literally like, maybe it's about 5 millimeters across, if that, 6 maybe. And I'm going to turn this towards me so I can see the spindle. There is a spindle. I'm going to take the blob of blue tack and center it on the spindle right there. Okay, there it is. And now we're going to put our bobbin on top. Now the blob has to be not too big and not too small. If it's too small, it's not going to hold on to the bobbin. On the other hand, if it's too big, it's going to grip the surrounds of the spindle so much that the motor won't be able to spin it. So I'm sensing it's probably a bit too small. Let's see. Let's stick this in. Yeah, I think it's a bit too small because it's not gripping our bobbin well enough. So let's increase the size of the blob. So I'm going to take a little more blue tack, combine these two blobs together. There we go. Slightly bigger blob. It's a bit of a hit and miss when you're doing it the first couple of times. Now let's see. Insert that. And as long as it's moving around, that's good enough. And also we will be supporting it by gently placing a finger or a thumb on top as you're winding our bobbin. So now let's go and wind the bobbin. So there it is, our extremely high-tech bobbin winding setup. It's a simple 3-pin plug with some inserts for inserting USB plugs. I've got my USB end on this side and the bobbin on the other. I'm going to insert this. I'm going to gently put my finger there and switch it on and see if it spins. Look at that. It's spinning beautifully. And that's literally all you need to wind a bobbin. Let me show it to you from the side. I'm going to put my finger there gently. See how fast and efficient that is? We're not waiting for the sewing machine's needle to go up and down. So now let's wind this bobbin and see how it works. So I've got this thread reel and I'm actually going to use the same spindle which is on top of our mini sewing machine. I'm going to insert this or pop it on top of the mini sewing machine spindle. Now I've got the end of the thread in my hands. I hope you guys can see it. And I'm going to insert it from the inside into the bobbin. There. Okay. Let's wind it a couple times around just to get it going. And now I'm going to press here very gently, guide the thread here and switch it on. Done. Can you see how fat that bobbin is? And it filled up so easily. Let's disengage it now.
look at that. Look at that lovely fat bobbin. Let me snip the thread. And now let me take it to the table and show you what it looks like. So there is a bobbin. So that's the top end that we use to pass through that hole that we always do. So we just snip that away. Look how beautiful and thick that bobbin is. I'm just going to poke the blue tack out. And I can reuse this countless times. Now look at our beautifully full bobbin, and it literally only took us a couple of seconds. It flows beautifully, and I didn't have to resort to the painstakingly long process of using my mini sewing machine to wind it up. I had wound this one earlier, as I showed you. And these just fill up so quickly using the fan's motor rather than the mini sewing machine's motor. I hope you found today's video helpful, guys, and that it gave you some ideas of filling up your bobbin in an alternate way as opposed to winding it using your mini sewing machine. It's quick, it's cheap, and it's actually a lot more efficient than using your mini sewing machine to wind the bobbins. Ever since I discovered this method, I've not used the mini sewing machine to wind my bobbin. And you can use this bobbin winder now, which is the improvised fan, for any machine, for any bobbin really, not just the mini sewing machine. So thank you so much for watching. Do recommend this video to one of your friends who doesn't know how to sew so that they can be amused and find it useful as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I shall see you next week. Take care. Bye.